You learn the vocabulary, you memorize all the grammar rules, you arrange the subject, the verb, the object into this mathematically perfect English sentence.
Right, the textbook perfect sentence.
Exactly. And then you step out into the real world, you deliver that flawless sentence to a native speaker, and the conversation just awkwardly dies. The interaction feels completely broken. And you sit there wondering, why?
Yeah, it's so frustrating for learners. And the reason is usually because you didn't learn the unwritten rules.
Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with us today, because today we are unpacking a comprehensive three-part guide from our sources on how to express your opinion in English exactly like a native speaker.
And we really want this deep dive to be a safe, supportive space for you, the listener. We know that learning to express your personal thoughts in a totally new language can feel, frankly, really intimidating.
Oh, absolutely. It's scary. So our mission today is to build you a conversational toolbox. And because we are tailoring this specifically for you, the English learner, we are going to speak at a slightly more measured pace today.
We're taking it nice and steady. We really want to clearly articulate our words, keeping the vocabulary accessible, so you can really absorb these profound insights from the source materials.
Yeah, think of this as a warm, supportive masterclass in conversational English.
I love that. And looking at our source materials today, we have a wonderfully structured series of lessons. They cover how to start an opinion, how to interact with other people's views, and how to build a really strong foundation using reasons.
It's essentially the psychology and the cultural programming behind why certain English words work and others just, well, fail.
Exactly, because to communicate effectively, you really have to understand the specific social priorities of the language you are speaking.
And in English, especially in casual settings, there is this massive emphasis on avoiding direct confrontation, right?
Oh, a huge emphasis. You need tools that allow you to be honest without being perceived as aggressive.
So, before we can even debate or discuss anything, we have to know how to properly open our mouths and share a basic thought.
Yeah, foundation.
Right, the foundation. So let's anchor this with a scenario from our sources. It's a story about a guy named Paul.
Ah, yes, the coffee shop story.
Yeah, so imagine it's a crisp morning. Paul decides to explore his neighborhood, and he walks into this brand new, cozy coffee shop. And it's notable because it has this bright blue door and these lovely yellow flowers in the window boxes.
It just feels incredibly inviting. It's the kind of aesthetic that sets a really positive expectation before you even order.
Exactly. You walk in anticipating a great experience. So Paul sits down by the window and he orders their special breakfast sandwich. It's got eggs, cheese, tomatoes.
Sounds amazing.
It does, right. But when he takes that first bite, the expectation just shatters. It is overwhelmingly, almost aggressively salty. Yeah, the chef just completely miscalculated. The food is a major disappointment. But on the flip side, the cappuccino they served him is an absolute masterpiece.
Okay, so he has a conflicting experience here. He has a negative data point, which is the salty food, and a positive data point, the perfect coffee.
Right. And later on, he wants to review this place for a friend. Now, if you just deliver the raw data as an English learner, you might say, the food is terrible, the coffee is good.
But that sounds so absolute. It sounds like a rigid verdict being handed down by a judge. It really lacks warmth.
It does. So instead, the source highlights Paul's pivotal phrase when he gives his review. He naturally introduced it by saying, in my opinion, their coffee is much better than their food.
Let's really isolate that opening phrase, in my opinion. It's a classic, fantastic way to share a feeling. It might seem like just a throwaway line, just a bit of filler, but linguistically, it is doing heavy lifting.
It immediately frames everything that follows as entirely subjective, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's a disclaimer.
Yeah.
You are essentially telling your friend, hey, I am not stating a universal law of the universe here. I am simply reporting my own individual experience.
You take ownership of a thought. You lower the stakes, because if you just say, the food is terrible, and your friend actually loves really salty food.
Then you've inadvertently told them they have terrible taste.
Right. You've created an invisible point of friction. But saying, in my opinion, removes that friction before the sentence even really begins.
It's brilliant. But, as effective as, in my opinion, is, it can feel a bit formal for just a super casual chat.
Yeah, sometimes you need something quicker.
Right. There is a much simpler, more fundamental way to open that subjective door. And that brings us to the essential I statements.
Beginning with the absolute baseline of the English language, I think.
Two words that literally form the bedrock of English conversation. I think it's going to rain. I think this is a great idea. It is the simplest, most natural start.
But, and this is a big but for our listeners, the mechanics of actually saying I think present a massive hurdle for a lot of learners.
Yes. The physical production of the th sound, it is notoriously difficult because that specific phonetic movement, it simply doesn't exist in the phonetic inventory of a lot of other languages.
It really comes down to the anatomy of the mouth, because in most languages, the resting place for your tongue is safely tucked behind your teeth.
Right, but to produce the English th sound, you have to push your tongue into an unnatural space.
You literally have to stick your tongue out.
Just a little bit. You must extend the tip of the tongue gently between the front, upper, and lower teeth.
And then you just blow air out, right?
Exactly. You don't use your vocal cords for the word think. It is just a breath. If you keep your tongue trapped behind your teeth, the air hits a solid wall, and it escapes from the sides, creating an S sound.
Like saying, I sink.
Right, or a hard stop like, I tink. You have to allow the tip of the tongue to gently breach the barrier of the teeth and push air out. Mastering that physical placement is totally non-negotiable if you want the phrase to sound natural.
Okay, so we have I think for the baseline. But what if you were discussing something really profound, like a core value or a deep conviction? I think feels a bit too flimsy for that.
Yeah, it doesn't carry enough weight. So you need to escalate the vocabulary to match your internal certainty. You transition from I think to I believe.
Oh, I like that. I believe everyone deserves a second chance. I believe this is the best way to learn English. You can immediately feel the weight of the sentence change.
It's the shift from simple cognition to deep confidence. You wouldn't really use I believe to discuss where to eat lunch.
I believe we should get tacos.
I mean, unless you're really passionate about tacos.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, you reserve it for strong recommendations. And mechanically, this word introduces another phonetic focus for our listeners.
The V sound at the end of the word believe.
Right. For the V sound, your upper front teeth must gently rest on your bottom lip. And then you voice it. You use your vocal cords.
Believe. You can almost feel a little vibration on your lip.
Exactly. If you don't engage the teeth on the lip, you end up making a B sound, like I believe.
Mm.
The vibration is the key.
So we have the simple, I think, and the strong, I believe. But what if we want to move in the complete opposite direction?
What do you mean?
What if we want to soften the approach to be as gentle and non-threatening as possible? This brings us to what is arguably the most dominant phrase in modern casual English, I feel like.
Oh, I feel like it's fascinating. It's a massive cultural tool.
I want to look at this through an analogy I really love. Think of expressing your opinions like choosing what clothing to wear in a specific environment.
Okay, I'm with you.
Let's say you are watching a movie with a friend and you don't enjoy it. If you say, this movie is boring, you are stating a hard fact.
Huh.
That is like wearing a heavy, thick winter coat indoors.
It's just too much.
Exactly. It's too much, it's too strong, and it makes everyone in the room slightly uncomfortable.
The absolute nature of the statement leaves no room for your friend to have a different view without starting an argument.
Right. But if you say, I feel like this movie is a bit slow, well, you have changed the entire atmosphere. You are now wearing a light, comfortable sweater.
That's a great way to picture it.
It's soft, it's cozy, it fits the casual indoor environment perfectly.
Because the light sweater approach, framing it with I feel like, transforms the opinion into a warm, friendly suggestion or emotion rather than a hard fact.
You aren't claiming the movie is objectively bad for everyone. You are merely reporting your emotional reaction.
And in English culture, sounding polite and avoiding being too bossy or direct is absolutely crucial. People who state everything as a hard fact are often perceived as arrogant. I feel like it makes you approachable.
It's the ultimate tool for casual friendliness. But, the light sweater isn't appropriate everywhere.
No, definitely not.
Once we know these basic I statements, we really need to adapt them based on who we are actually talking to. Context is king.
Because an opinion given among friends looks very different than an opinion given to your boss.
Which brings us to the concept of the polite shield.
Yes, the polite shield. A perfect example of this is the word personally. As in, personally, I prefer tea over coffee. Or personally, I don't like horror movies.
Okay, let me ask a question here, maybe pushing back a little. If the words are coming out of my mouth, isn't it already obvious that it's personal? Why do we need to add the word personally at the very beginning?
It's a really valid question because logically, yes, it is redundant, but it acts as a polite shield. It explicitly signals that you are only speaking for yourself.
Which protects the other person.
Exactly. It prevents the listener from feeling attacked or pressured to agree with you. You're saying, my dislike of horror movies is just a quirk of my own brain, not a judgment on you if you love them.
It lowers their defensive walls.
It really does. And phonetically, for our listeners, let's break down those 4 syllables slowly. Personalize.
Personalize.
Right? It forces the speaker to slow down just a fraction, which signals that a thoughtful, subjective statement is coming.
Now, personally, works wonders with friends at a cafe. But let's step into the office.
A totally different environment.
You are in a company meeting or talking to your boss or writing a serious school essay. Using a soft, emotionally driven phrase like, I feel like, suddenly becomes way too casual.
It can actually undermine your authority. In a professional setting, you need professional elegance. Instead of, I feel like, you need to upgrade to phrases like, from my perspective.
Or as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Let's look at from my perspective. It communicates that your opinion is the direct result of your specific position and expertise.
So you'd say, from my perspective, this is a great plan. Or from my perspective, we need more time to finish this project.
Exactly. It shows profound respect for the business environment. It sounds analytical rather than emotional.
And what about, as far as I'm concerned?
That phrase is a subtle way of drawing a boundary around your area of work. As far as I'm concerned, the marketing report is complete. It means, within my domain, I have reached a conclusion.
These phrases allow you to speak with undeniable authority, yet they remain fundamentally polite. They leave room for the boss to disagree without anyone losing face.
Knowing how to shift from the cozy, I feel like on a Saturday, to the analytical, from my perspective, on a Monday morning, is a massive step towards fluency.
But of course, a great conversation is never just a monologue. It's a two-way street.
Always.
Now that we can start our own opinions, we absolutely must learn how to invite others to share theirs.
You have to pass the microphone, so to speak.
And the #1 way to ask the right question is a simple 4 words. What do you think?
It functions flawlessly in almost any context.
But there is a massive connected speech secret here for our learners, isn't there?
Oh, this is a crucial native speaker habit. Native speakers do not speak like robots. They don't say, what do you think?
If you say it like that, it sounds almost like an interrogation.
It does. It sounds very rigid. Instead, native speakers blend the words together into what you think.
What you think?
Yes. The what and the do smash together into what, and the you reduces to a lazy yeah, what you think. This is a major key to sounding native.
What do you think? It just flows, it signals informality, and instantly lowers the social barriers.
It really does. Now, what you think targets the intellect. But what if you are asking for emotional reactions or personal tastes, like asking about Italian food?
Then you would use, how do you feel about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Italian food? How do you feel about moving to a new city? You are inviting them to share their emotions.
Okay, so you've passed the mic, the other person speaks, and what happens when you hear their opinion and it's the magic of agreement?
Well, the basics are easy enough. You can just say, I agree, or me too.
But I have an observation here. There is a highly confusing phrase for learners that native speakers use all the time.
Let me guess. I couldn't agree more.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Wait, it has a negative word in it. Couldn't. So doesn't that logically mean I disagree?
It's such a funny paradox in English. Let me unravel this. Imagine your agreement is a progress bar from 0 to 100%. When you say, I couldn't agree more, you are saying your agreement is completely full. It's at 100%.
Ah, I see.
It is physically impossible for you to agree any more than you already do. So it is 100% positive agreement.
My agreement is maxed out. That makes so much sense when you picture it like that.
Another fantastic casual idiom for agreement is, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, I love that one. It's a magic trick of conversational connection.
It means I was about to say the exact same thing you just said. Our brains are on the exact same wavelength.
But we don't always agree 100%. Sometimes we have partial agreement.
Right, you need phrases that are slightly more reluctant, like, I suppose so, or I guess you're right.
If someone points out a logical fact, but you aren't thrilled about it, you just sigh and say, I suppose so. You're accepting their point, but you're still thinking about it.
Exactly.
But agreeing is easy and fun. What happens when you have a totally different view?
This is where things get tricky.
Because in English, disagreeing directly can quickly ruin a conversation.
It's the golden rule of English conversational culture. You almost never say, You are wrong.
Why is this such a strong rule?
Because it's considered far too harsh. It hurts feelings. It attacks the person's public image, their intelligence. The conversation instantly turns into a battle of egos.
To prevent this, English relies on what we'll call the politeness cushion.
The cushion.
Let me give you another analogy. Disagreeing with someone is a lot like dropping a heavy weight. If you drop a heavy iron weight onto a hard wooden floor, it makes a loud, destructive noise.
It leaves a huge dent.
Exactly. That is what saying you are wrong does to a conversation. But if you put down a soft cushion on the floor first and then place the weight on it, it's soft and safe.
The disagreement is still there, but the impact is totally absorbed.
So how do we introduce this cushion linguistically? Let's look at cushion number 1. I'm not so sure about that.
That is an incredibly gentle way to disagree. Let's say someone claims that summer is the absolute best season. You don't say, no, it's too hot.
You say, I'm not so sure about that. Personally, I feel like winter is better because of the cozy snow and hot chocolate.
See how you gently pivoted away? You took the burden of the doubt on yourself.
Now, cushion number 2 is even more magical. I see your point, but...
Oh, this is a master-level phrase. I see your point, but it actively respects the other person's view before you share your own.
Let's actually do a role-play breakdown of this from the sources. The classic debate. Watching movies at home versus going to the cinema.
Perfect, because both sides have really strong arguments.
Right, so watching at home is super comfortable. You can literally be wearing your pajamas.
Very true.
Yeah.
While going to the cinema gives you that huge screen, the delicious popcorn, that special atmosphere.
Even though it's really expensive.
Right. So let's see how debaters use cushions to keep this friction super friendly and polite.
Okay, I'll start. Personally, I feel like watching movies at home is the best because it is so comfortable.
And instead of saying you're wrong, I will use a cushion.
I see your point about comfort, but I'm not so sure about that. Personally, I feel like the cinema is much better because the screen is huge.
Notice that. You validated me, you mitigated the disagreement, and you used the polite shield. It's brilliant. So I'll reply with partial agreement. I guess you're right about the amazing screen, but going to the cinema is so expensive. And then I can strongly agree with the negative point before reinforcing my positive one. I couldn't agree more. It is very expensive. But to be honest, I feel like the special atmosphere makes it worth the money.
We just disagreed fundamentally, but the conversation stayed totally polite and harmonious.
It's all about keeping the friction friendly.
But did you notice the one structural word holding all of those arguments together?
The foundation of the argument.
Yes, the power of the word because. You shared your opinion gently, navigated disagreements politely, but an opinion without a reason is like a house without a foundation.
It won't stand up in a real conversation.
It's the magic connector. People desperately want to know why you think the way you do.
If you just say, I prefer cooking at home, the statement is empty. The listener doesn't know what to do with that information.
But if you say, I prefer cooking at home because it is healthier than eating in restaurants, now you've given your partner something to react to.
It's the fuel for the conversation. And we have another native pronunciation secret here regarding the word because.
Yes, because native speakers rarely say because slowly and clearly in a natural flow.
We just don't have the time. When we are rushing to give our reasons, you get shortened to just cuz or cuz.
It's like CZ cuz.
Exactly. Using that relaxed schwa sound. Like, I love summer because it's warm.
I prefer cooking at home because it's healthier. It just links the ideas together frictionlessly.
But what happens when you need to level up? What if you have multiple reasons?
Right, I have a question about that. If I have 3 reasons for my opinion, should I just say because A, because B, because C? It sounds a bit repetitive, doesn't it?
To be honest, yes, it sounds like a broken record. To avoid sounding repetitive, native speakers use transitional words like also and plus to stack their reasons naturally.
Okay, let's hear an example, like riding a bicycle.
Right. You could say, I believe riding a bicycle is wonderful because it's great exercise. Also, it is good for the environment.
Oh, that flows much better. Also, just adds the next layer without repeating because.
And you can use plus. Like traveling by train. I feel like traveling by train is the best because you can see beautiful views. Plus, it is cheaper than flying.
Plus really feels like a bonus, doesn't it? Like, here's a delightful extra reason to agree with me.
It creates a really natural cascading argument.
Which brings us to the masterclass.
The ultimate conversational flex.
Crafting a balanced discussion. Now it's time to put every single tool we've talked about together.
A truly polite and smart conversationalist shows they understand the opposite perspective before explaining their own view with because. You're seeing both sides.
Let's test this out with a topic. City versus countryside.
A classic. So if someone asks your preference, you don't just shout the city. You show balance. I see why people love the country because it is quiet and peaceful. But personally, I think the city is better because there are more shops.
That is so elegant. Let's do another one. Topic 2. Dogs versus cats.
I suppose dogs are wonderful because they are friendly. However, my opinion, cats are better because they're quiet and easy to take care of.
Oh, I want to highlight that word right there. However,
Yes.
it's an elegant use of however as a transition. It balances the two ideas perfectly.
So, are we ready for the ultimate battle role play?
Let's do it. We're going to analyze the final debate from the sources. Books versus movies.
So the argument for books is that it uses your imagination, has more details, and it's relaxing in bed.
And the argument for movies is that it's faster, has amazing music and visuals, and it's a wonderful activity to share with friends on a Friday night.
Okay, let's put it all together in one fluid conversation. I'll take books.
And I'll take movies.
Personally, I believe reading books is the best because it helps you use your imagination. Also, books have more details. How do you feel about that?
I see your point, but I'm not so sure about that. From my perspective, watching movies is better because it is faster. Plus, it's great to share with friends.
I guess you're right about sharing with friends. But to be honest, I feel like books are more relaxing because you can read in bed.
I suppose so. Reading is very relaxing.
No.
I mean, look at that. We successfully used opening phrases, politeness cushions, because, and plus, all in one flow.
We turned textbook rules into a natural breathing conversation.
And that, everyone, is the journey from starting an opinion to defending it gracefully.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. But before we sign off, we have some master homework for you.
Yes, because you have to practice this out loud.
So we are passing the final challenge to you, the listener. We want you to answer this question out loud wherever you are. Do you prefer pizza or pasta, and why?
Use the polite shields. Use a cushion. Stack your reasons with also and plus. Really urge yourself to practice these new phrases out loud.
Feel the words in your mouth. And while you are practicing, our expert has a final provocative thought to leave you with.
We've spent this entire deep dive learning how to soften our language with politeness cushions and gentle phrases like, I feel like. But think about this. When you learn to speak a language, you also inherit its cultural values.
That's very true.
So does speaking English, with all of its intense focus on politeness and softening disagreements, actually change your personality? Does it change how you handle conflict in your own life?
Wow. Does speaking a certain way make you a more conflict-avoidant person?
It's something fascinating to consider the next time you find yourself with it. To say, I see your point, but...
I love that thought. Language really is a mirror, isn't it? Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Keep practicing, keep speaking without fear of making mistakes, and we will catch you next time.